my feel-good breakfast show.
Hey, welcome back to your Friday morning on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Right now it's time for our weekly tech roundup with Theunis van Rensburg, or as I like to call him, TJR. It's a new name that I've developed for you, man.
Sounds good.
We're taking a look at some of the interesting stories from around the world in terms of tech. The very first one, we've touched on this before, but lab-grown meat, and something that some might have thought, delicious, some thought disgusting. But now there are a few beef companies that are filing a petition against it, I understand. What's happening?
Right, so I mean, it was bound to happen. When any big industry comes under fire, they're going to fight back. So they see this as a real threat to the meat industry in the US. So they're trying to take sanctions against these tech startups that are making these lab-grown meat products because they don't want them to be able to call them meat. Because they say once we start calling that meat, we have to start calling things like plant-based products meat. So that's kind of what they're going for. Whether or not it'll work, I don't know, but because technically and biologically it is meat. So it'll be interesting to see how the government actually handles this. And obviously those big companies have the lobbyists in Washington DC, and who knows what'll happen.
Gosh, imagine just looking at your menu at the restaurant and seeing lab-grown steak. Oh, I don't know. Just doesn't sound appetizing. Anyway, moving down to Australia, where scientists have found a way of effectively converting your camera into a microscope through some kind of implementation. So exactly how is that going to work, and what are some of the applications there?
So there you can see it. What they've done is create a little 3D printed clip-on, basically, that works on almost any smartphone. And you use the camera, and it changes that into a microscope. So it's actually really, really strong and powerful, that little microscope. And the idea behind it is obviously to give people access to this kind of thing that nobody has a microscope lying around at home. So it's about getting kids excited about science and getting them into the STEM subjects, and it's just a cool piece of kit. It can actually look at microorganisms and small cells up to 1/200th of a millimeter. So it's very powerful.
It's going to make Instagram a whole lot more interesting now when you're taking your Instagram coffee pictures and you take the inside of the milk cell and you're like, lunch.
Yeah, it's bound to happen.
And finally, Google now has a new artificial intelligence software that is apparently able to diagnose whether you have or you are at risk of developing heart disease.
Right. Now, this is very interesting. So Google obviously has a lot of companies under their umbrella. And this is one of the companies they've got that looks after human health. And what they've developed is a way of scanning the eye and collect a lot of interesting data as to what's going on in the eye, things like color and the viscosity of the fluid in the eye, and a lot of other things like this. And they built machine learning models to actually try to predict if people are in danger of heart disease. So they can also see if you're a smoker, they can determine if you've got liver problems, and all through just scanning the eye. It's really smart, and it's a really non-invasive way for us to see if something's potentially wrong.
Fantastic applications, as you can imagine, with that throughout the world. But quick question, with Google acquiring so much information from all of us on our smartphones and stuff, is anybody else challenging Google as, the top end, or
as the biggest data miners in the world as well?
Because after a while they might be just controlling the world just based on the information that they have.
And that's their entire business, right? That's what they're trying to do. So at this stage, nobody can touch Google in terms of data volumes and the way that they're using that data. Apple have tried, Microsoft have tried, but at this stage, Google is kind of leaps and bounds ahead.
Wow. Okay, cool. Theunis, thank you very much for updating us on the latest news out of the world of technology. And of course, if you'd like to follow Theunis for more, do so at Theunis_VR, and check out expressoshow.com for the latest updates.